Welcome to the Blazor TextArea tutorial. In this video, I will show you how to integrate form support in the Syncfusion Blazor TextArea component. The TextArea component seamlessly integrates with HTML forms, allowing users to input and submit multi-line text efficiently. Validation ensures the data meets specific criteria such as length and format, guaranteeing accuracy and completeness before submission. Now let me open an existing Blazor web app. I have successfully added the Syncfusion Blazor TextArea component, along with some properties for customization. If you want to know how to add a Blazor TextArea component to a Blazor web app, you can refer to the video linked in the YouTube card above. Let's run the example application. You can see the TextArea rendered with the placeholder shown at the top of the component. The component accepts only 6 rows and 40 characters per column. Next, I will show you how to integrate form support into the Blazor TextArea component. First, I define Syncfusion's EditForm tag, which simplifies handling form submissions and validation. It's used to wrap form elements and provides features like model binding and validation using data annotation attributes. Next, I will demonstrate the validations using data annotations, so I add the code block. Here, I create a class name, annotation. Within this class, I add a property called message. This property will hold the user's input or message entered into a form or input field. Next, I will update the annotation class to include data annotation attributes, which enforce validation rules on the message property. To do this, I add the namespace, system component model data annotations. This namespace provides attributes and interfaces for validating and configuring data models. Then I add the required attribute with an error message to the message property, which will be displayed if the field is empty. Next, I add the max length attribute with an error message to limit the maximum length of the message field to 250 characters. Finally, I add the min length attribute with an error message to set a minimum length requirement of 20 characters for the message field. Next, I declare a private field named annotation of type annotation. This initializes an instance of the annotation class, which includes properties with data annotations. Then I add the model property and bind it to the created annotation object. This is used to validate the form based on the data annotation attributes. Next, I add the onValidSubmit event, which is triggered only when all validation rules associated with the form fields are satisfied. To handle this event, I create a private async method named onValidSubmit. This method is executed when the form is successfully submitted and passes validation. Before proceeding, I bind this method to the onValidSubmit event. Then I declare a message property to display feedback or status messages related to form submission. In the onValidSubmit method, I display a success message to confirm the form submission. After that, set the 2 seconds delay. I clear the message. Finally, I call the stateHasChanged method, which notifies Blazor that the component's state has changed and triggers re-render. Next, I add the onInvalidSubmit event, which is executed when form validation fails. To handle this, I create a private async method named onInvalidSubmit. Inside the method, I simply clear the message property to remove any existing feedback or error messages. Finally, I bind this method to the onInvalidSubmit event. Next, I define the data annotations validator tag used for validating forms based on data annotations applied to model properties. Then, I create a division tag with the form element class, wrapping the entire form element to provide a container for styling and structure. Next, I move the Blazor TextArea component inside this division tag and bind the bind value property to annotation message, enabling two-way data binding for synchronized updates between the text area and annotation message. Then I define the validation message tag along with the message property. This ensures that validation errors related to message are displayed here. Next, I will create the Submit button to indicate that it triggers form submission when clicked within an EditForm component. To do this, first I include the Syncfusion Blazor button's namespace. Then I define the Syncfusion button tag within the division tag and set the type property to submit. It specifies that this button is a submit button within a form. Also add the isPrimary property to true. It highlights this button as the primary action for the form. Then I set the content named submit. Next, I check whether the message string variable is not null or empty. If message has content, the success message will be rendered. Then I apply CSS styles for form container, form element, and success message. Before running the example, I change the resize mode from none to both for a better UI experience. Look now, you can see the TextArea component rendered with the Submit button. When attempting to submit without entering any text, the required validation message for the message field is displayed. If I try to input more than 250 characters, the corresponding error message appears. Similarly, attempting to input less than 20 characters triggers the appropriate error message. Then I paste the content above 50 characters and below 250 characters. You can see the form submitted successfully message. Next, I will show you how to customize the styles and appearance of the Blazor TextArea component. To adjust the size of the text area, I have predefined classes for both small and large sizes. First, I set the input text initially for clear understanding purpose. For a smaller size, set the eSmall class in the parent element of the input. As you can see, the text area is now rendered in a smaller size. To adjust it to a larger size, change the class in the parent element from eSmall to eBigger. Now you can see the text area rendered in a larger size. Next, I will show you how to add a static clear button. To do this, set the CSS class property to eStaticClear. This class ensures that the clear button remains visible at all times, providing users with the ability to easily clear the text area content without needing to focus on the control. Additionally, set the Show Clear button property to true, allowing users to quickly remove all the text content. Now you can see the text area rendered with the static clear button. When I paste a large amount of content, you can clear it easily by clicking the clear button. The content is removed immediately. Next, if you want to restrict users from typing in the text area and make it read-only, set the read-only property to true. Now it is possible to copy the existing content, but if I try to type some text in it, you'll notice that typing is disabled in the text area because it is set to read-only. Now let me summarize. I showed you how to integrate form support in Blazor TextArea component. Also showed you customize the component appearance and enable read-only mode functionality. If you want to see the working code of this example, you can download it from the GitHub link in the description below. I've also provided a link to see if you qualify for a free community license to use all our Blazor products. If you find this video useful, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.